Can you trust a copy of 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 an ancient document on your phone? Actually, yes, you can.
What the heaven?
Welcome to What the Heaven, where it's good to ask questions. Every week I answer people's questions that get sent into me. And one of my subscribers sent me an article that was talking about the fact that, well, it surprised her. She didn't know that there are thousands of disagreements between the manuscripts in different Bible fragments. And if the manuscripts don't agree, and if we don't have the originals, all we have are these copies, then is the Bible made up? Is it just some white guy's interpretation? This is a fantastic question, and I'm going to tell you 3 reasons why we can be extremely confident that the Bible that we have on our iPhones, I'm sorry, this is an Android, that the Bible we have on our phones is the most reliable historic document in the world. All right, let's figure out what the heaven all of the manuscripts disagree about. Also, I'm going to swear in about 30 seconds. Have you heard of the Wicked Bible? If you haven't, you need to search it up right now. Well, no, I'm going to just tell you about it. But it is amazing. In 1631, a translation of the Bible was made that had some amazing typos. Not like misspellings, like legit typos, and they're awesome and terrible. For example, you know the verse that says, "Thou shalt not commit adultery"? They forgot to put the word "not" in there. The Bible says, "Thou shalt commit adultery," but that's not even the best one. The best one is in a verse that was talking about the greatness of God, but it's Deuteronomy 5:24. But instead of talking about the greatness of God, they wrote about the great ass of God. Here's what it said. "And ye said, Behold, the Lord our God hath showed us his glory and his great ass." Yeah, it's called the Wicked Bible for a reason. None of that matters because we have thousands and thousands of translations of the Bible, and they all agree pretty well. You should not commit adultery, and God's ass is not, sorry. What does the Bible say about cheating on your spouse? Can't remember? One Bible translation says go for it. About 20,000 Bible translations say don't. If you're still confused, I can't help you. Because we have the copies of the copies, because we have so many different manuscripts, we know that in fact the Old Testament says you shouldn't commit adultery because we can cross-reference. Now here's the thing that we don't talk about in church. In all of the Bible, the historic biblical manuscripts, there are over 400,000 differences in the manuscripts. But guess what? 99.5% of these are simple typos like this that don't require any thinking to figure out. The first reason that we can know the Bible is reliable is because there is overwhelming agreement across all manuscripts that have ever been discovered and all translations that have been made. And if there is disagreement, we have enough other examples that we can cross-reference and know what the Bible actually says. The second reason we know that the Bible is a historically accurate document is none of the errors or the mistakes or the typos have anything to do with a major doctrinal belief. When the Dead Sea Scrolls were discovered, they were the oldest manuscripts of the Bible ever found. And you know what we discovered? Absolutely nothing. The biblical fragments in the Dead Sea Scrolls agreed with everything the Bible was already saying with all of our modern translations. It's like when your mom said you can't have a cookie, so you go to your dad and your dad says, well, what did your mom say? It's the same thing. And this isn't that rare. As more and more biblical manuscripts are found, all they're doing now is reinforcing the fact that the Bible we have today is the most accurate translation and most accurate interpretation that we've ever had. Now, there is one thing though. If you're alive now, we can make that claim. But what we have now is way better than what they had 300 years ago. So some of these claims couldn't have been said 300 years ago because there are errors in translation in the King James Version, and there were just straight up words they couldn't understand. But today, we have very, very good translations, and we have so many historic documents that back up the fact that what we have on our iPad is exactly what God intended. I had to look this up, but as of today, Barack Obama has more followers on Twitter than anyone else in the world. But if he deleted his account today, what would happen to his tweets? Actually, absolutely nothing. Even if Obama made his account private, we would have a record of everything he said because so many tweets that he's made have been put in newspaper articles and were retweeted by other people. And the Bible is the exact same way. If somebody went around today and destroyed every fragment of the New Testament, we would still be able to reconstruct it without those fragments. Now this is crazy, but let me explain why. Right after the New Testament was being written by all of the guys that wrote what we call the New Testament, those letters were passed around. And people not writing biblical documents, but just writing books and letters, they quoted the original Bible documents. And this quoting of the Bible happened so often that we could construct most of the New Testament just from non-biblical writers talking about the Bible. And here's the coolest thing, all of their quotes of the Bible, they back up the Bible that we have today. Did you know that the Bible is the most quoted document in history? Those quotes let us be confident that what we have on our iPhones, Androids, computers is incredibly reliable. In high school, I had to read this book, Homer the Greek writer, Homer's Odyssey, and I really didn't like it. It's like 3,000 years old and it deals with cyclopses and sirens, which seem cool, but then when you read it, it's not really that exciting. But you know what no one told me? As I'm reading the book, no one said, oh, we don't really know if this is what the story was supposed to be because you're just reading a copy of a copy of a copy. There's over 100 times more manuscripts of the Bible than the Odyssey, which is the second most reproduced text of all time. But people criticize the Bible and not Homer, not Plato. So I think you can't have it both ways. Either be suspicious of everything written 3,000 years ago, or admit there are some good reasons for believing that the copies of the copies that we have actually support each other. But here's why people don't want to do this. Here's why people will say Homer wrote this, but the Bible, we can't believe it. The reason is if Homer's Odyssey, which is also a work of fiction, if that's true, if that's really what Homer wrote, it's not that big of a deal. If Plato was really true, it's not that big of a deal. But if the Bible is what it says it is, that changes everything. If the Bible is what it is, it changes me. So me, I believe the Bible. I think I have really good reasons for believing the Bible. And sometimes that belief makes my life harder, but that doesn't make it any less true. So what are you going to believe? Are you going to believe that the most faithfully reproduced document in history is actually the truth? Or are you going to choose not to believe it simply because it makes a really important claim? Truth is truth, no matter what you believe. And that means that what the Bible says needs to be taken seriously. I'll see you next week.